The total number of years are 158 years in prison. This matter is concluded.
He was sentenced to 158 years in prison, and he is crying now, but he is the one who turned the dreams of these 11 women into a horrific nightmare.
One of the hardest things about sexual assault and rape is that your body is the crime scene. So you carry that with you forever.
Dr. Stephen James Matthews, once a respected cardiologist, exploited the hopes of those seeking love through dating apps, only to betray their trust in the most horrific ways. What began as a promising encounter transformed into a tale of deceit and trauma as he lured them into his home, drugged their drinks, and assaulted them while they were incapacitated. Each woman entered his world believing they had found a potential partner, only to have their lives shattered by Matthew's predatory behavior. As they awakened, confused and traumatized, the reality of what had happened began to sink in, each one facing the emotional and psychological aftermath of his actions, which would haunt them for years to come.
There are lifelong physical and emotional things that I will be dealing with as a result of what happened to me.
Dr. Stephen James Matthews was initially regarded as a well-respected cardiologist in Denver. He was known for his dedication to his patients and his enthusiasm for outdoor activities like camping and snowboarding. Friends and colleagues described him as charming and personable, traits that contributed to his appeal on dating apps. However, over time, he transformed from a seemingly good person into a manipulative predator, using his charm and professional status to exploit vulnerable women. This drastic shift highlights how outward appearances can be deceiving, masking darker intentions beneath the surface. Dr. Stephen James Matthews began using dating apps as a way to connect with potential partners, leveraging his charm and successful career as a cardiologist to attract women. His profile depicted him as an adventurous, fun-loving individual who enjoyed outdoor activities, cooking, and traveling. Initially, he may have appeared genuine, seeking companionship, but this facade allowed him to target vulnerable women. By presenting himself as an ideal match, he gained their trust, which he later exploited for his predatory behavior. After establishing his profile on various dating apps, attracted attention with his well-crafted image as an adventurous and successful cardiologist. He initiated conversations with potential matches, often using his medical knowledge and engaging personality to build rapport. His strategy included suggesting fun activities and social settings, which would often involve alcohol, further allowing him to manipulate the situation. Over time, he began to exploit these connections, leading to a series of assaults that shocked the community and ultimately resulted in his arrest and conviction. Dr. Stephen James Matthews' approach on dating apps evolved into a calculated method for targeting vulnerable women. After securing initial connections, he would plan dates in familiar or casual settings, such as bars or restaurants, to create a comfortable atmosphere. During these outings, he often exhibited behaviors typical of a charming and attentive partner, asking questions, sharing personal anecdotes, and even engaging in light physical contact to build intimacy. However, his demeanor masked his true intentions. As the dates progressed, Matthews would offer drinks, sometimes adding substances to incapacitate his victims. This manipulation was not only physical, but also psychological, as he leveraged the trust women placed in him due to his profession and social persona. Once his victims were under the influence, they became completely vulnerable. Many reported waking up disoriented, with little to no memory of the night, only to later realize they had been assaulted. This pattern of predatory behavior underscored the dangers inherent in dating apps, where individuals can hide behind curated profiles and charm. After building trust during initial dates, Dr. Stephen James Matthews would often invite women to his home, framing it as a more intimate and comfortable setting. He presented this invitation as a chance to continue their connection over a homemade meal or a casual drink, creating an environment that felt safe and welcoming. Once the women were in his home, Matthews would offer them drinks that he had secretly spiked with drugs, leaving them vulnerable and unable to resist his advances. This calculated approach allowed him to maintain the facade of a charming host, while preparing to exploit their incapacitated state. The ability to manipulate social norms surrounding hospitality was crucial to his predatory tactics, allowing him to mask his true intentions and prey on unsuspecting women. Audrey was the first victim of Dr. Stephen, whose harrowing experience would ultimately help unveil the truth about his predatory behavior. Audrey first came across Matthews on a dating app where he showcased himself as an attractive and successful cardiologist. His profile highlighted a blend of professional accomplishments and personal interests, including outdoor activities like camping and snowboarding, which presented him as both accomplished and relatable. Fitted image made him appear trustworthy and desirable as a potential partner. The two began chatting, and Matthews' charismatic personality shone through in their conversations. He likely used his profession to build rapport, discussing his work and interests in a way that made him seem knowledgeable and engaging. This initial interaction set the stage for Audrey to feel comfortable and excited about meeting him in person. Audrey's first impression of Matthews was positive. Their initial chats were filled with playful banter and shared interests. He displayed a charming personality, making her laugh and feel comfortable. Conversations flowed easily, transitioning from light-hearted topics to deeper discussions about life goals and values. Audrey appreciated his attentiveness and genuine interest, believing she had found someone with whom she could form a meaningful connection. After several days of chatting, Matthews suggested they meet for brunch at a well-known local restaurant. The invitation felt casual and friendly, aligning with Audrey's hope for a relaxed yet enjoyable first date. She eagerly accepted, excited to finally meet the man behind the engaging messages. Their conversations had established a connection that Audrey felt was worth exploring in person. His stories about his work as a cardiologist were both impressive and inspiring. He spoke with passion about helping patients, which further endeared him to her. Their conversations made her feel as if they shared a genuine connection, making her more open to the idea of spending additional time together. After brunch, Matthews suggested they continue their date at his home, where he proposed a hot tub experience. The invitation felt enticing. It seemed like an opportunity to deepen their connection in a more intimate setting. Audrey, caught up in the excitement of their budding relationship, agreed. She viewed this as a natural progression, believing that their chemistry warranted a more private space. The transition from a public restaurant to Matthew's home was significant. Audrey felt secure in the rapport they had built, viewing the move as a positive step towards intimacy. This shift also highlighted a common vulnerability in the dating world: the ease with which individuals can misinterpret signals and overlook potential red flags when they feel a connection. As Audrey arrived at Matthew's home, she noted the well-kept exterior, which mirrored the image he had crafted online. Everything appeared normal and welcoming, further reinforcing her trust. This environment, combined with her positive feelings towards Matthews, contributed to her sense of safety. Once inside, Matthews led Audrey to the backyard, where the hot tub was set up. He had prepared the area nicely, adding to the inviting atmosphere. The bubbling water and warm lighting created a relaxing ambiance. Audrey felt a sense of excitement, believing she was about to share a memorable experience with someone she had grown fond of. As she slipped into the hot tub, she felt the warm water envelop her, easing her nerves. They laughed and chatted, enjoying the intimacy of the moment. However, the relaxed setting would soon turn into a nightmare, as Matthews had sinister intentions masked by his charming demeanor. While in the hot tub, Audrey began to feel disoriented. The last clear memory she had was gazing at the water, watching the bubbles dance on the surface before everything faded to black.
In the hot tub, and the very last thing I remember is just looking at the water and then just lights
In
out.
that moment, she had unknowingly become a victim of Matthew's predatory behavior, likely having been drugged to incapacitate her. When Audrey regained consciousness, she found herself in the shower, confused and disheveled. The sense of vulnerability and violation hit her like a tidal wave, and she struggled to piece together what had happened. Her mind raced as she tried to recall the events leading up to her disorientation, but gaps in her memory only compounded her distress. What began as a promising encounter through a dating app, a dream of finding love and companionship, had transformed into a horrific nightmare. Initially, she kept the incident to herself, unsure of how to process the traumatic experience. Feelings of confusion, shame, and fear engulfed her, creating an internal battle that many survivors of sexual assault face. Audrey's story reflects the tragic reality that trusting someone based on their public persona can have dire consequences. Eventually, after confiding in close friends about her experience, Audrey found the encouragement she needed to speak out. They reassured her that she was not alone and emphasized the importance of reporting the assault. Their support was crucial in helping her navigate the emotional turmoil she faced, instilling in her the belief that seeking justice was the right course of action. In early 2023, fueled by the support of her friends and the realization that she was not the only one affected by Matthews, Audrey made the brave decision to report the assault to the police. She provided detailed accounts of her initial encounters with Matthews, their date, and the events leading up to her loss of consciousness. This brave step was crucial in initiating a formal investigation, which would ultimately uncover a pattern of predatory behavior. Audrey's report led detectives to gather evidence. Her testimony became a pivotal moment in the investigation, leading to other victims coming forward with their own harrowing experiences. Several women came forward, revealing similar experiences with Matthews. Each account echoed Audrey's. Women described feeling disoriented after a date, often recalling little to nothing of the events that transpired. This collective testimony was vital in understanding the full scope of Matthews' predatory actions. The media played a significant role in amplifying the voices of the victims. As the story gained traction, news outlets began covering the case, leading to further outreach to potential victims. Public interest in the story highlighted the urgency of the investigation and the need for accountability, encouraging other survivors to come forward. As the investigation solidified, Matthews was arrested and faced multiple charges, including sexual assault and drugging. The courtroom became a pivotal space for victims to share their testimonies, recounting their experiences in front of a judge and jury. This process was both empowering and challenging, as many women confronted the trauma of their experiences while seeking justice. During the trial, Matthews maintained his innocence, attempting to discredit the victims' claims. His defense team argued against the credibility of the witnesses, focusing on inconsistencies in their testimonies. However, the overwhelming number of similar stories shared by the victims strengthened the prosecution's case. Ultimately, Matthews was found guilty of multiple charges, receiving a sentence of over 150 years in prison.
He's not sorry for what he did. I think he's sorry he got caught.
The verdict served as a significant moment for the victims, particularly Audrey, who had been the catalyst for the investigation. It symbolized not only personal justice for the women involved, but also a broader societal recognition of the importance of believing and supporting survivors. For Audrey and the other victims, the outcome of the trial was bittersweet. While they felt a sense of closure and validation, the emotional scars from their experiences remained. Many women expressed gratitude for the support they received from each other and the community, emphasizing the importance of solidarity among survivors. Audrey's story, along with those of other victims, sparked discussions about safety in dating, particularly in the context of online interactions. Advocacy groups began focusing on educating individuals about the potential risks associated with dating apps, urging users to prioritize their safety and remain vigilant. The case underscored the need for comprehensive safety measures, including better reporting mechanisms and increased awareness around consent and personal boundaries. The aftermath of Matthews' conviction continued to fuel conversations about consent and the importance of open discussions around sexual violence. Activists and educators emphasized the necessity of teaching individuals about healthy relationships, consent, and the importance of listening to survivors' voices. These discussions aim to foster a culture of respect and understanding, reducing the likelihood of similar incidents in the future. In the wake of the case, support systems for survivors gained attention. Mental health resources, hotlines, and community support groups became increasingly important for those affected by sexual violence. Audrey and other victims highlighted the value of sharing their experiences and supporting one another in healing.
Really, really nice to get to meet all of them, just give them a hug.
If this story has resonated with you, please consider sharing it with your friends and family. Your voice can help raise awareness and foster safer environments for everyone. If you found this video insightful, please like and subscribe for more content that explores real-life stories and the lessons we can learn from them. Thank you for watching, and remember to prioritize your safety and well-being.